Heian is the new Deep Woken-inspired, early-release Jujutsu Kaisen Roblox game, and in today's video I will be going over whether or not this game is actually good, and I will be honest, showcasing what I do and talking about what I don't like. Make sure to subscribe, since only about 20% of the people watching this video right now are actually subscribed. And also I'm live on Twitch, so you should watch me on Twitch. I'm live on Twitch right now. You need to watch me on Twitch where I am live as of uploading this video. I'm live on Twitch! Now let's get straight into it. Alright, so first of all, let's talk about the progression. Now, the thing I like the most about this game's progression is that there's really no RNG to it or anything like that. You don't need a spin for a curse technique, and every curse technique in the game, aside from one, is obtainable through a quest without needing to deal with RNG. The exception to this is Limitless and Infinity, which requires you to have the Mishizane or Gojo clan to get it, which is kind of annoying, but I guess it's not nearly as bad as most games, where everything is locked behind an RNG spin system where the maximum rarity is like 0.0035%. Every other technique, including Sukuna's Shrine, are unlockable via quests, so honestly, it's not that much of a problem. Now, it is what I would say if the chances for the Gojo clan weren't crazy low. The chance for it is about 0.067, which is ludicrously low, honestly. I get it's supposed to be rare, but making it RNG when everything else in the game is obtainable and then making it this low of a chance is kind of insane. Because I do like gambling in video games, but I like gambling in video games when it's optional. Like if you have a gambler curse technique, right? Like the one that Hikari uses, and you don't need to use that, obviously, but if you like gambling like me, you can use that, that's cool. Or when there's gambling in the game in other forms, maybe you put a casino in your game and let us make money like that. Some games do stuff like that. But when gambling and random chances are part of the obtainment to things in video games, I do not like it. And it's good at least that the clans don't offer any benefit and are only cosmetic for the most part, but the fact that Limitless specifically is a technique which you can only get through an extremely rare chance is kind of stupid. Now maybe this will change, the game is still in early testing, so pretty much everything is subject to change, but we'll see. As for the rest of the progression, you can level up by killing basically anything, making it pretty easy and freeform, letting you either go around and just killing sorcerers and curses, doing quests which guide you a bit more strictly for ease of progression, and then you could also do major stuff like the various curse bosses like the calamities with friends if you want as well. As far as progressible abilities, you have maximum output, which you can get once you have 80 stat points in cursed energy output, and maximum output, which has its own quest, which it generally just upgrades your curse techniques, obviously. Then there's reverse curse technique, but the unlock method for this is a bit different and is not based on stats. It is based on your Eureka bar, which channels as you take damage and do stuff in the game. So upon reaching 50 in your Eureka bar, get knocked and then spam G, and if you do this twice, you can unlock reverse curse technique and have an awakening, which this is probably my favorite version of any JJK game on Roblox is like unlocking for reverse curse technique, because sorcery is, well, an exit scam, and also unlocking RCT in that game didn't really make much sense being through a battle royale mode, so it was quite unrelated. This is both related, and I feel like it's themed quite well in the context of Jujutsu Kaisen. Only downside is it's kind of easy to farm with friends super easily, so it should be a bit less farmable and maybe require an awakening and some sort of secondary quest, or maybe a power level as well. Now the game's story is pretty much non-existent, which is a con. You're basically just a sorcerer in training and that's it. The entire point of the story is that you woke up in this random place and you don't know anything or where you are, and you just have an affinity for channeling cursed energy and you want to get stronger and exercise curses. It's quite basic and I really think that they should work on it. Obviously they have a lot of time to, because the release frame for this game is undecided and they want to get this game out by the end of this year, so even the soft limit, which really isn't there, is pretty generous to the developers. Now, the game is heavily inspired by Deep Woken, so let's look into a few things involving the overall combat and movement, starting with PvE because it's far more prominent right now. As far as the PvE goes, it's honestly 50-50. It isn't bad. The movement in combat is generally pretty good, but I do have a few problems with it. First of all, whenever you use a move, it kind of feels like they heavily restrict your movement. Crits completely stop your movement most of the time, and M1s seem to really slow you down, making it kind of mess with the flow of movement during a fight, in both PvE and PvP. So if anything, I just toned down the slowdown effects and movement lock caused by crit skills and hits. Now, the PvE itself isn't too bad. The Calamity bosses are pretty cool and well done, and I think all the non-humanoid enemies are very well done. However, the humanoid enemies are not the same. The AI on them ranges from brain dead to the point where you can spam M1 them against the wall, or they're auto parry bots who can't be mixed up, and you essentially just need to parry trade with them until the AI gives out and gives you the mercy of allowing you to hit them a few times. Otherwise, you're subject to the torture of a 3v1 parry trade for 2 minutes before you can finally kill a group of mid-level NPCs. It's way less of an issue as you get stronger, but early game it's a bit miserable, especially if you just do what I do, where I kind of just run into the deep areas and start fighting things that are stronger than me for EXP. As for the PvP, I like it. I also like how fists are always an option in combat by just not equipping your weapon, allowing for you to be ready out of combat without your weapon in case you get attacked by someone. The weapons themselves generally feel pretty good to use, and I got to use a lot more stuff in the pre-release testing phase before they reworked the game, but that hasn't changed at all, so my experience on that is fine. Since the game has quite a lot of weapons and a good variety of curse techniques, I think it's actually pretty well balanced for how much there is, especially considering that this is just an open public testing period. I also feel like none of the curse techniques are particularly like too weak. Some of them are probably a bit too strong and could be toned down, but I don't think any of them are just like unusable garbage. Now, also the movement in the game, it does have some parkour mechanics, like how if you slide jump off of an edge, you get a little boost and then you can air dash, but the parkour mechanics aren't super advanced. You have wall running, you have wall climbing, stuff like that. Pretty much everything you would expect to be for like basic movement-based games, so they did a good job on that too. The only complaints I have about movement are already in relation to the PvP, because your movement kind of gets locked down a little bit too much by skills and crits and swinging, so maybe just tone that down a bit. Now, my absolute favorite part of this game is going to be its aesthetics. The map has undergone a major rehaul since testing, and it is actually one of my favorite modern Roblox maps in a while. This could be recency bias because, you know, I haven't played a whole lot of Roblox games in recent time, and the ones that I have played aren't, you know, particularly focused on their maps, but this one is really good. I specifically do love the overgrowth area with its jungle aesthetic, and it's really nice. It's a well put together map with clear sections and themes between them, and then they have bosses matching those themes, obviously. So good job on whoever made the map and directed the aesthetic direction of this game. I love that. Now, each part of the map has its own themed calamity, or boss, which each of these changes the area for once you kill it. You see, spending too much time in these areas is supposed to cause negative effects and damage you over time and stuff like that. And then after defeating a calamity, it kind of tones down those effects and takes the wild aspects of the area and makes them more, I guess, climate temperate stuff like that. I don't know. Now, I wouldn't know because I don't experience these issues, but I have heard that the game has a bit of performance and optimization issues on the lower end devices, which honestly really isn't surprising with the VFX and map design choices going on within this game, because the map is way larger than you'd think it is playing it. But this is all likely subject to improve as the game gets updated, since this is just a testing phase for player feedback, so I expect all these issues to get better. Now, one thing I don't like are the item drop rates. The rarest mythics are a 0.18% drop chance, which is pretty insane, but for mythic drops that really doesn't matter, right? Because mythic drops aren't needed. Most of them are cosmetic and some of them are like clothing and stuff. So honestly, I have no problem with it being really rare for most of the mythic drops. They don't matter and they don't provide much of or any advantage, and some of the mythic drops are just given to you via quests. But then there are the legendary drops, which are 0.089%. First of all, normally mythic is a rarity above legendary, so it already bothers me here, but what the fuck? Why is the item needed for Sukuna's shrine obtainment so rare? It's literally a drop from one enemy, being Tengen, and then on top of that, it's the rarest thing in the game. And it's not even guaranteed either, because, like, I get it's shrine obtainment, so yeah, making it rare is fine. But man, 0.089%? You couldn't even give us, like, a 1 in 1,000 chance of getting it? Like, damn, at least give us a 1% for these and maybe 2% on mythical, because this is ludicrous rates and nobody's even gotten shrine legit yet. And before someone says, oh, I've seen a YouTuber using it, they were given it. Overall, though, this game has a lot of potential, and unlike sorcery, it isn't selling access to scam people 3 times in a row, so that's a big plus in my eyes, because this game really doesn't over monetize, which I think is cool. I think it's worth a try, and it'll improve significantly by release day, whenever that is, and it'll probably have a good release and maybe even a real story developed by then if they feel like it, which I hope they do because I like stories. But honestly, I think the biggest appeal point for this game is the fact that the devs aren't seemingly overly greedy. Like, I get that lots of the rates are really low, but first of all, the game's in testing, so these are subject to change, and second of all, they're not charging you guys a whole lot of money to get things for this in exchange. You kind of just have to grind out the game. They're not selling rerolls for everything, they're not letting you or forcing you to buy stuff to get a curse technique. Everything is pretty obtainable, and I think the devs did a really nice job with that, so I actually give them quite a bit of praise for, you know, not selling the game, for not selling access to the game and then making you buy spins for a curse technique, and then making you buy items and then item detectors and then you know, exit scamming the game. It seems like the devs actually care about it and actually want to make a good game, which is why they're not overly monetizing and selling things like that. Like, there literally aren't even any game passes, so yeah, the devs are doing pretty good work here, I'd say. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. Shoutouts to Green, Pickle, Brick, High Card, Goopka, and Drizzy Drake Fan. I love you all, have an amazing day, check out my second channel, and check me out on Twitch, and I mean it, go watch my second channel, now! I just dropped a new video on there yesterday. Anyway, I hope you all have an amazing day, and goodbye.